Anthony Yarde versus Sergey Kovalev will be happening in basically less than a month's time. And when this fight was kind of getting talked about earlier, back in kind of February sort of time, when Anthony Yarde fought that Travis Rivas guy, in my head I thought, there's no way this guy is ready for Sergey Kovalev, and there's no way that this fight is going to take place. But as the months have gone on, it became apparent that yes, this fight was going to take place. And the closer we kind of got to this fight, the more I kind of started thinking about this fight in my head and how it would go. And in the video I did when this fight was first announced, I said that I'm going to pick Anthony Yarde to win. Now, I'm going to give a kind of breakdown as to why I'm going to pick Anthony Yarde to win, and just basically my reasons behind this prediction. Now, I know this is a little bit before the fight, but I just felt it's nice to get this video out there. Sergey Kovalev, obviously, we know he's in the news for not exactly the greatest reasons, and that's partially one of the reasons why I'm picking Anthony Yarde. You know, I was picking him prior to this coming out, but it's partially one of the reasons. Because Sergey Kovalev, for a couple of years now, we've been told that outside of the ring, he really doesn't lead the cleanest lifestyle. You know, Andre Ward said that, you know, he drinks a lot of vodka. He maybe isn't the most disciplined guy out of the ring, and maybe he isn't the easiest to work with either. I know with Buddy McGurk, he seemed to have, you know, a very good stamina in that fight, you know, very disciplined and boxed very well. But that being said, even after that fight, we just see these old traits of Kovalev, you know, this, you know, inappropriate, improper behaviour coming out again, more than likely when he's under the influence of alcohol, I should say, not under the influence of anything else. That's one of the reasons. Sergey Kovalev is now 36 years old, okay? And I maintain that you can't disrespect your body by putting alcohol into it or not living a clean lifestyle in a sport like boxing when you're in your kind of the wrong end of 30s. It's just not going to work out. All right? It's just not going to give you longevity, and it's just going to take away from you. Because I know people who are in their 20s can get away with it a lot more, you know, the drinking alcohol kind of thing and stuff like that. And I see fighters myself who are a few years older than me, in their kind of mid to late 20s, and yeah, they drink alcohol now and again when they're not in camp and all that. And see, I've never been someone who's a big drinker. I don't drink alcohol. I very seldom drink alcohol. I don't like the feeling of being drunk, if that makes sense. So I very seldom drink alcohol. So when I look at fighters doing it, and like these are pros, I'm only an amateur. When I look at some of these pros drinking it, I'm just thinking, you know, why are you doing that? Why are you drinking? You know, there might be a fight coming up or stuff like that, etc., etc. You know, one of my friends, Craig, you know, I think they had a few drinks after his last fight, which I don't really mind that because the hard work was done. But you see fighters before camp, some fighters before camp, but they're just, I'm getting the last of the alcohol out of my system and all this. So to me, that's kind of, you know, why are you doing that? And Sergey Kovalev, in his late 30s now at this stage, is still, you know, doing these erratic things, you know, probably under the influence of alcohol, and maybe just not treating his body the way it should be. Whereas Anthony Yarde is 9 years younger than Sergey Kovalev, very fresh. You could say too fresh. He's never really had a competitive fight. Tunde Ajayi would say that's because Anthony Yarde doesn't make these fights competitive. Well, you know, he's not fighting the greatest opposition. Let's not beat around the bush here. And, you know, he is very inexperienced. He only had 10 or 12 amateur fights. When I made that video first about Anthony Yarde and Sergey Kovalev, I said that Yarde had never travelled as a pro, which is technically not true. He did fight on the Canelo-Liam Smith undercard back in Texas a few years ago. But you can watch that fight. It's on YouTube. It's an empty arena. It's an empty arena, basically. So he has fought outside the UK once, but this would be different. This would be him in the main event with a very anti-Yarde crowd and a pro-Kovalev crowd. So it'd be interesting to see how he copes with that. In terms of how this fight goes, you know, people are saying that Yarde's never been in there with someone who hits as hard as Sergey Kovalev, this, that, and the other. Well, I would say the same about Sergey Kovalev, to be fair. Because who has he ever fought who is a noted puncher? Alida Alvarez isn't a noted puncher. Andre Ward is not a noted puncher. McCalkin, not a noted puncher. Hopkins, Ancient, not a noted puncher, etc., etc., etc. Jan Pascal, he was never a big puncher. So he's never fought a puncher at Anthony Yarde's level. And yes, I do think Anthony Yarde is a good puncher. I think he may, I'm not going to say he's elite level. I think he can hang out with world level guys in terms of punching power, definitely. And he can shift the head and body as well, very good. And we know Sergey Kovalev doesn't like the body shots. We know his kind of torso is a bit fragile. And as well as his chin, he was buzzed by an Andre Ward right hand. Andre Ward's right hand is not his best punch by far. And Andre Ward's not a big puncher. So Kovalev's chin, I'm not going to say he's chinny, but he's definitely not got an iron chin. If Andre Ward can hurt you, then I'm definitely sure Anthony Yarde has enough power to hurt Sergey Kovalev. I would imagine that Yarde would want to be invested in the body. And I can imagine Tunde Ajayi is going to inform him that Yarde does invest in the body early in this fight, especially given the fact that a month or so outside of this fight, Kovalev is having these incidents, which leads me to believe that it's kind of going to be, maybe an ill-disciplined camp or maybe a kind of crash camp to get the weight off. So that body might be a bit fragile. So I can definitely see Yarde targeting that body. Yarde's going to want to tighten his defense up, definitely. He's not got a bad defense, but I don't think he's as slick as he likes to think he is. And I think that Tunde Ajayi will be aware of that and will be making Anthony Yarde tighten his defense up. So what I can see Yarde doing is I think Yarde has long arms. So I don't think that the outboxing Kovalev is going to work, necessarily Kovalev outboxing Yarde. So I think Yarde may be able to box with Kovalev, but get them body shots in whenever he gets close, and maybe get Kovalev's respect. I would imagine Kovalev can get Yarde's respect as well with his power, but he needs to get Kovalev's respect to keep him honest. And I think that if Anthony Yarde is patient, he boxes on the outside, boxes discipline, invests in the body, the head will then soon follow. And I don't see this fight going to points. I think Yarde will take Kovalev out. I think he'll stop him, and I think in mid to late rounds, stoppage for Anthony Yarde. That's what I'm going for. I could be completely wrong. I've got predictions wrong in the past. Anthony Yarde could go in there and in the first minute feel Kovalev's power and be completely intimidated and freeze. It's an unknown, but I'm siding with Yarde in this one. One of my mates, he knows who he watches my videos actually, Niall O'Connor. He's a good boxer. He was meant to fight in Boston there a few weeks back. There were some issues with his visa, he never fought. And I said to him, why are you taking this fight? He said, well, I'm cashing it all out on red. And this is what I'm doing with Anthony Yarde. I'm cashing all in on Anthony Yarde. I think he's going to pull this fight off. I think he's going to do it. So those are my thoughts on this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll give a little bit more detailed breakdown kind of closer to the fight. But hope you enjoyed this one. Like it if you did. Subscribe if you're new. And as always, I will talk to you after.